Parmi les musiciens qui participent au renouveau du blues-rock contemporain, Jared James Nichols occupe aujourd'hui une place de choix. Originaire du Wisconsin et installé à Nashville, le chanteur et guitariste américain s'est forgé une solide réputation grâce à un jeu à la fois brut et expressif, servi par une technique de main droite exclusivement au doigt. Il y a une dizaine d'années, ce fils spirituel de Leslie West, également biberonné au son de Stevie Ray Vaughan et Albert King, entamait une carrière. Depuis, 4 albums ont vu le jour, dont le récent Louder Than Fate, une véritable missive blues rock, encore plus ambitieuse que ses prédécesseurs, tant dans la production que dans l'écriture. Un parcours sans faute qui l'a amené à se faire une place aux côtés des plus grands, à l'instar de Joe Bonamassa, Zakk Wylde ou Joe Perry, et a noué au fil des années une relation privilégiée avec Gibson, avec qui il a développé 3 modèles signatures chez Epiphone. Depuis 2025, son nom est également associé à la Gibson Futura, une création unique du Custom Shop qui fait revivre un prototype imaginé en 1957. Eh bien les amis, c'est dans le cadre de sa récente tournée européenne que j'ai eu le plaisir de rencontrer Jared, un entretien forcément guitare en main qui devrait ravir les amateurs du genre. Bon visionnage.
First thing I would say is don't give up. Don't give up. Don't think that you, and this is to anyone that's watching this, don't think that you can't do it. Just be yourself. Go as hard as you possibly can. Practice harder than you have to work. But I would say that be fearless, because life is really short when you think about it. And a lot of times people go, oh, I don't want to do that. I'm scared to fail, or the fear of failure. And I think that at that moment in my life, the King of the Blues contest, I was so scared. I couldn't believe I was there. And I think that I was approaching music more like a competition, when in reality, music is fun and it's you expressing yourself. So I think that I would tell anyone, and especially the kid in me at that time, don't give up. Have fun. Play what you love.
I got nothing to lose. Let's go.
It's crazy. It's amazing to live there, because the best part about it is you consistently push yourself. So when I'm in Nashville, I'll be playing, I'll be at a guitar store and I'll hear someone go. And you go, who's doing that? And it's just a kid, There's so many great players that in order to live in Nashville, you have to continually push yourself to continue to get better.
Heard what you didn't say. I felt you push away.
Daniel Donato, I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. Insane chicken picker. J.D. Simo, of course. Do you know Trey Hensley? Bluegrass player. He plays with a pick, but it's like, honestly, it's like, like that kind of, it's crazy good, And it's funny, since I moved to Nashville, this is crazy. I'm originally from Wisconsin, but what happened is all of a sudden in my playing, and you can hear it on the record, there's some songs where I have more, twangy. So it's cool to mix that sound with the blues and the heavy blues rock stuff. It's cool.
Can we just start over, or do we say goodbye?
Yeah, when I worked with Eddie Kramer, he told me straight up, he said, Jared, guitar player like you, it's all about the riff. It's all about what the riff does for the song, and let your guitar playing always do the talking, which is an amazing thing to do and something that I stuck by for a long time. But I quickly found out, especially for this record, that sometimes when you let the guitar take a back seat and you emphasize on the songs, what happens is a very, very special thing where you start to look at the guitar differently. And with this record, going in on the songs, I realized that I didn't usually start with, let's say a riff. I would start with something where I would play simple chords like, there's all the songs on the record, even there's a song like Bending or Breaking, which is something very different. I would find something cool to play, right? These chord shapes. And it would lead me to a... So it was like a different kind of vibe. And what I found with that was I thought differently with the guitar. I didn't do the same thing I was always doing, which is something that was really exciting. I'm so lucky that a lot of people bring me guitars to play, to check out. So this was, I guess it was last week, it feels like it was a month ago. I was in New Jersey, outside of New York City, and a collector named Al Romano, who is known for having crazy guitars. He owns Ace Frehley's 59 Les Paul, all these insane guitars. He showed up to the show unannounced, 10 minutes before the show. And he comes backstage and he brings the case and he said, open it, it's Leslie's Flying V. And I couldn't believe it because for me, I saw that guitar in pictures and I heard that guitar. There was a record that Mountain made called Avalanche, and he used that guitar for the whole record. So I was like, oh my gosh, I couldn't believe it. I'm sitting there with it like this, holding it. And he said, you can play it tonight if you want. And I said, absolutely. So I had my guy just tune it up, and it was probably the first time that guitar had been played very heavy since then. At first, it was kind of like tuning, but I'm telling you, within 3 songs, man, that guitar just had that. It had that. And when I played that, it just had the bite. And I just loved playing that guitar. So I'm so lucky, and now it ruined me because I want to play it again. So just, it's a beautiful thing when you have something that you've listened to your whole life, and then it's like a hammer, and there's the hammer that created it. So in order to swing that, it was very beautiful. The only other guitars that I would really love to play, I played so many of my heroes' guitars, Paul Kossoff, Eric Clapton, Hendrix, Leslie West. I played so many, Gary Moore, I played Greenie. I mean, I've played all of those great guitars. I don't know, I love looking at them, but to be honest with you, sometimes it's better to be left to the imagination, right? Because I played a few of Eric Clapton's old guitars, and I looked at them and I went, oh. And then when I played them, they were poorly set up. It's like driving a car and you're like, it doesn't really run right, So I don't know, I'd have to think about it. with that song, Killing Time, that was a song that I'd never really recorded a song like that because it's very slow, it's very open. You know, when you're playing that song, you're really walking through the... So it's very open and singing over that, you know. When it came time with that song, we were in the studio and we knew we were cutting something that was very exciting. I was a little nervous about it because I'd never really played something that kind of, how do I say it? It almost felt like I was naked, you know, because I'm used to having a guitar, having that guitar. So when the time we got to Killing Time, I remember I was with the producer, Roger, and we recorded all of it. And then we said, it needs like a solo at the end. It needs something powerful. And it was at the end of the day, and he said, come back tomorrow and cut the solo. So on the way home, I was listening to the track, and I was just listening to it. And at the time, I had just chords. I had an E to a G to an A minor to a C to a D. Those were the chords I had, right? And I remember when I got home, I thought about it, and I said, I don't want to just play a solo where it's just licks. So I slept on it, and when I got back to the studio, it was the first take we did. I wanted to start slow. I wanted it to have like a theme. So when you're soloing, I always think about having a theme, right? So it starts slow, it starts with this bluesy kind of run. And it's got that classic call and response technique. But as the solo goes, it continues to build. And what's really cool about it is the intensity keeps building up and up to the point where I'm playing low. I start to do almost more melodic things, like you said, like David Gilmour, you know. I'm thinking more about the melodies. So I'm doing a... And I do these licks like... So I'm not really thinking about these guitar licks. I'm thinking about what goes over the music. If I was singing, you know, you know? And then I get to this point where it's like the guitar comes in and it's big and it's heavy bluesy. I wanted to show that kind of, that energy where you're... And then having more melodic, so I was hitting more... And then adding that up, it just kept compounding into this epic solo, and really was more about the emotion instead of the licks. And I think that working the bending and the vibrato and the tone and flipping pickups and having all that really made it special. And I did think about David Gilmour. I did think about Paul Kossoff and Leslie West, some of my favorite melodic players. And yeah, that solo, that's my favorite solo on the record.
Can we just start over, or do we say goodbye? 'Cause the weather's getting cold.
Oh, so incredible. The producer that we were working with, Jay Rustin, he's a famous LA producer. He's worked with Anthrax and Stone Sour, many big bands. He's a good friend of mine, and we always talked about getting in the studio together. And what we envisioned for the record was keeping it very, very live, keeping it feeling like a real old school rock record and having the punch. We were talking about studios, and he said, hey man, I can get us into Dave Grohl's Studio 606, which is a very famous studio. And I said, absolutely, I would love to. And going there, man, the energy, it was unbelievable. We tracked songs like Ghost, Bending or Breaking, Pretend, so many songs there, Running Hot. And what you hear on the record is us all playing together. That was what it sounded like in the room. I got to use such amazing gear. Some of Kurt Cobain's instruments were there, and cabinets, and you know, obviously all of the things that Dave has, the Foo Fighters stuff. It was so cool. It was just like, honestly, it was like a kid in a candy store. Albert King is, like you said, one of the hardest to imitate. Albert King was one of the reasons I don't play with a guitar pick. Besides all of the kind of country sounds and all of the Jeff Beck and Mark Knopfler and all of that. And you know, there's a lot of great players too that would play with a thumb pick. Guys like Albert Collins. and they'd have this bitey. But Albert King truly was the king of string bending. He has one of the most insane styles, and he tunes, I was told he tuned to an F sharp minor chord. I don't know if anyone really knows what he tuned to, but his tuning was weird. So if he played lefty upside down. So when you're trying to watch him play, it's hard to even decipher what he's doing on the guitar, but you hear it, right? The big thing about Albert was he was such a melodic blues player. So let's say he was in, we're in the key of C. Albert would say so much with so little, just like B.B. King, but Albert, he would do these insane bends that were so precise. It almost sounded like a voice, right? He was the master of this sound that went on to influence everyone. I mean, we're talking everybody from the late 60s on, even a little earlier. But, you think about Stevie Ray Vaughan, you think about Texas Flood, you think about Hendrix, there isn't one guitar player from Eric Clapton to Hendrix to Stevie to even Eddie Van Halen, all of those people that were not influenced by Albert. So he had this distinctive single note style, really. You'd never really hear Albert play rhythm. Once in a while you'd hear him go. You'd hear him play like a little, But he played very almost broken rhythm. But when he'd play, he had this distinctive single style where he would sting the notes. You could hear the fingers snapping on the frets, right? And the thing that I would suggest to you if you're a guitar player, it's almost like come up here, let's say in the key of C on the 13th fret of your B string, use your index there, and then go up 3 frets now to the 16th, and start to find out how to make all the sounds going. So using those, finding all the notes in there. And it's not about the sheer picking force, it's all about finding the microtones of the bends. And then he would play these notes in these runs where he would simply use his thumb or his index finger and he'd pop it up, right? G string. If you want to play like Albert King, I would focus more on finding the notes in between the notes because it's almost like he plays things out of key. So if he was playing, now if you heard that note right, it would go. So it's almost like it sounds out, but it's so beautiful. There's a lot of things Albert would do with his fingers that were so expressive and so dynamic. But the main thing is he had these notes where he would sting them and he would be able to. So Albert is he's the king, and I think of him every time I bend a string. No, actually, the town I grew up in is where Stevie Ray Vaughan played his last show, East Troy, Wisconsin. And I remember I heard Texas Flood. One of my dad's friends played Texas Flood for me. So in the beginning, I heard Stevie Ray Vaughan playing like this. And I heard. So I was hearing that and I went, where is he getting that from? How does he do that sound? Then I heard Albert King do blues power, right? And I heard the sound where he went. And I went, hold on. Then there was a tape of them doing in session. It was a session they did in Canada where they play it back and forth. And Stevie would play something, he'd go. And then Albert King would go. So it was like the same kind of thing. So I found Albert through Stevie. Yeah, I think that I'm so lucky that I get to do this because I love it so much, just like you and all of us. I'm so lucky. And I've worked really, really, really hard to make this a career and to not only practice playing how to play guitar, but be on the road, like you said, for 15 years. That it's amazing when people that I admire and I look up to and my heroes say, hey, whether it's Joe Bonamassa or Zakk Wylde or whoever. And it's an amazing feeling. And I do feel responsibility because for me, this music is so important that it's much bigger than me. It's much bigger than all of us. And I think that the legacy is so strong. And the one thing that I always say is it's not dead because we're still here and we love it and we're playing it every day. And that's a beautiful thing. And I'm just so honored that I get to sometimes play for the first time they ever hear Mississippi Queen or my songs, and they go, what is that? And then it takes them down their own path. So I feel very lucky. Do I feel responsible? Yes. But it's not that serious. I get to have fun with it. You know what I mean? That's on your face. Had the whole damn place eating off the. You know what? I didn't use that much stuff. I used a lot of stuff I'd never used before. One of the big things that I did on this record, if you listen closely on a lot of riffs, I doubled a lot of it with acoustic guitar, which is cool, something different. I found that using an acoustic guitar, it actually gives it a bigger sound because there's something about it being clean that really helps push it along. So I used an old J200 Gibson acoustic. This guitar I used on the record. This is a guitar, this was a gift from Gibson. This guitar can be heard on almost every track on the record, alongside my 1952 Les Paul, which some of you may know, Dorothy, which is the guitar that was rescued from the tornado. And I had the neck, it got a new neck. But I used those two guitars primarily. So both Gibsons, like I said, a 52 Les Paul gold top. This guitar, which is a Futura, and this is something that Gibson's making in limited runs in the custom shop. But it's basically the predecessor, it's the beginning of the Explorer, which is kind of cool. And I love playing this guitar because it's something different, but also it can get very, very aggressive, or it can clean up really well, which is something that I really need. And then I started playing Marshall amps, which is very exciting. And on this session, a friend of mine, he loaned me a 1968 Plexi Super Lead 100, which is an incredible amplifier. So all those tones that you hear, I mean, everything from the heavy stuff to the clean, that's me with that Plexi. And I would go from here, you know, and then if I wanted to back it down for clean, I'd use my volume knob. And then using pedals now, I only used a few of my key pedals I had. An Ibanez TS-808 Tube Screamer. I would use my Klon, which was my gift from Joe Bonamassa. I used that pedal a lot. And then we used some weird pedals. That was the core of the sound, was my old Tube Screamer and that Klon. But then it was really cool. We used like a Memory Man by Electro Harmonics. We used a flanger pedal. I used a Univibe, which is really cool because on some of the songs, in order, I'm noticing, to make them bigger and help them breathe, I could do stuff like, say I'm in drop D, right? You could take it and you go, it's behind the guitar that's going. But when you do that with a flanger pedal or a delay and it's in the background, it just gives it this landscape, which is really cool. So I started to experiment with stuff like that. So really what you hear on that record is a Marshall, super lead plexi, 2 Gibsons, a tube screamer, a clon, an acoustic guitar, and a few kind of modulation pedals.
On your face, had the whole damn place, eating off the smaller.
Haha, I think it's cool. Forever I play Les Pauls. I just love it, it's in my blood. I've had 3 signature models with Epiphone, single pickup Les Pauls, and I was able to do exactly what I wanted with those guitars, and I love them. And I would say about 16 months ago, I started talking to Cesar at Gibson. One of my good friends, Lizzie Hale from Hailstorm, she plays Explorers. So I started borrowing Explorers, and I was checking all these guitars out. And Cesar was the first person to give me an Explorer to mess around with for a long time. Another friend of mine, Chris Blakey, big guitar collector, he borrowed me a Futura. And I saw it and I went, what? It's crazy. It's so crazy, right? It's almost like, the cool part about it is it was created right around when the Modern and the Flying V were just coming out. So this is what the Explorer started as. And it never made it as a model. And a lot of people say, oh my gosh, it's so weird. And it has like a Dean looking headstock. It's just so funny. And you're right, it is, but I didn't know what to think of it. I just wanted to try one. And I'll never forget the first time I plugged it in. I didn't know what it was gonna sound like because I never heard someone play one before. And it's so cool because it has the mix of classic Gibson heritage that we love. It has the comfortable feeling of a Gibson neck, everything's normal there, but it has this offset body, which is really comfortable for me to play. It just sits really nicely. And when I'm holding it, it feels very tactile. So what's funny is when I first started to play them, people were saying, why are you playing that guitar? That's so weird looking. And then a few months later, people were saying, well, I wanna get one and I wanna try one, right? So I think it's really cool and it's a big nod to the history of Gibson because you're right, no one has played one of these. And I think it's really cool to revive the shape. And it was since 1957, I believe, no one's ever rocked one on stage. And here I am playing one. I think that it was so poorly received, everyone went, no. And then they redesigned it as an Explorer, and that's when they kind of had the Explorer in the lineup. But if you look at it, it's got a lot of the same features. It's just very thin in the middle, right? Very thin. But I just love it, and I think it's so cool. And what I think is, to me, it's dangerous. It has a feeling of classic Gibson. I love the sound of it. I love the way it feels. I just think it has the classic, you can get the Gibson classic warmth out of it, but it's bluesy. Get to the neck pick. Go in the middle, you can even get some of that. I just love it. Man, that guitar, it had been through so much before I'd ever met it. I mean, by the time that I met that guitar, it had its neck ripped off, it was in a tornado, and it was found in a yard. So when I got the guitar, I remember thinking to myself, I wonder if it works. It had no neck. We plugged it in and we touched with metal, and it went bam, bam, and it all worked. So the fact that that guitar survived what it did in a tornado, putting a new neck on it, it sounded beautiful. It sounded like the music I grew up listening to and hearing. It just sounded so unbelievable that is one of my favorite guitars of all time. So having a guitar like that, I thought of Dorothy, the Wizard of Oz, of course. And there's something that's so beautiful about that I just think that having a guitar like Dorothy is, first off, it's one of the first Les Pauls ever made. So even And that in its own right is amazing. It has features about it that are early, like this is one of the first 50 ever. So to have that, but not only that, have it sound so good, and those are original pickups, original electronics. It's just a really special guitar, and I would have brought it on this tour, but we were flying every single day. When I come back though, I'll be bringing it. And I believe that guitar has gone through so much that it should stay on the road, and it should continue to be played and continue to be loved.
On your face, had the whole damn place, eating off the smaller.
It's a hard take. Here's my take on it. I understand that there's a lot of people that love different brands, like whether it's the G&Ls or even the PRS Silver Sky. There's people that love these guitars, and that's awesome. I think that with what's happening with Fender is it's almost like, it's like too little too late. That these shapes now are, how do I say it, bigger than Fender? It's like, man, I think about it, the shape of those guitars, and I think of guitar in general. And I think of not only, I don't even think of Fender anymore, I think of all those brands. So for me, I don't really play Fenders, but when I saw it happening, I went, oh man, this is not gonna be good. But because also, there's so many people that love Fender forever, but maybe they want a G&L or they want some other features that they can't get on a Fender. And I think that it's unfair to, in 2026, to tell people, no, you can't. Well, I guess they could if they wanted to, but I think that what Fender's doing is a display of power. And you go, no, not cool. Guitars are made for art, and guitars are made for purpose. So when people start going, it's not good. Yeah, it's kind of about your last question, really. It's about the struggle, and it's about the play of being a musician, trying to make it, being on the road, but also doing it yourself. You know, there's the whole life of being in a van, traveling every country across the world, trying to get your music heard. And I think that it's a really powerful story of like perseverance, and it's a story of not giving up. And it's a beautiful portrayal of what a lot of people probably already have experienced, where it's like, it's scary, you know, and there's a lot of fear of failure. But the one thing that a lot of people will see on there is no matter how many setbacks you can have, you can still rise above and you can still do it. Weird. It's crazy. It's crazy when people call you on the phone, you know? I mean, I've been able to become friends with so many people, and so many people that I never thought I would be friends with, you know? From all different genres. Everyone from Nikki Sixx to Zakk Wylde to, I mean, so many people, even like different like celebrities, right? And sometimes you sit there and you go, man, I used to look at pictures of this guitar player on my wall, you know, whoever it was, and now I'm sitting here talking to him. It's crazy.